All right. Go ahead and get started here with Coach. JJ, you want to start us off?
Hey, Jeff, how you doing this morning?
We're good, JJ.
What happened on Thursday, Friday that forced the postponement of last week's game?
We had some players test positive in the contact tracing, and it just affected us at a position that due to injury, positive testing, contact tracing, we wouldn't have been able to play the game. So I got a call from Nick about 8:30 on Thursday night, and whenever Nick calls, it's never good. If he texts, it's a good thing. If he calls, I know it's a bad thing. So it was, and we were on the phone for the next 2 or 3 hours trying to figure it out. You know, with the contact tracing, it takes some time to figure all that out. So I had to make the decision, and Friday morning we announced it to our team at 8, I believe, maybe 7:30, 8, I don't really remember, and went public with it shortly thereafter.
Are you hopeful to be able to play this game against UTEP this week?
Yes, hopeful would be a good word. Obviously, we're tested again today and tested again Friday. Still waiting for results. And just like I've told y'all many times before, I don't ever feel good till my headsets are on and I see the ball kicked off the tee and I know we're getting to play. There's so many things that are uncontrollable. I think we need to be very careful that, the young men, and that's why I had to be very careful how I speak to you guys. The young men that test positive don't need to be shamed or made to feel bad. I've had, a couple of coaches test positive, and one of those coaches I know that not recently, this is back, a while ago, he wears his mask everywhere he goes. He's not being insensitive to other people. He always wears his mask. In the office, he has it on all the time. He has it on everywhere I ever see him, and he tested positive. So I just think we have to be very careful that we don't make kids feel bad because we have a 0.38, positive rate of testing through all this testing, 0.38. That's pretty phenomenal for a bunch of kids that have tested as many times those guys have tested.
Jeff, as far as the testing, what has to happen, I guess, between last week and this week for you guys to be able to play? Is it that Saban rule or where you have to have a certain number of negatives come back?
Yeah, I don't want to get too specific, not because I'm trying to hide anything. I just don't want to misspeak. Dan and Nick take care of all that. I know there have been some changes made to those policies. And I know Dan and Nick are very well aware of it. I literally just get my injury report, and I read on there when they're going to be back and who's not going to be back, and maybe they're going to be back, and we just try to build a plan from there. I hope that answers your question, JJ.
Okay, Greg.
Jeff, how many positive tests was it, and how many guys are out due to contact tracing?
We're not sure on the contact tracing yet. Obviously, we've got more testing coming. We've had 2 in the athletic cohort that have tested positive. And the contact tracing is still being done, and who knows if some of that might change, and injuries are involved as well. Hopefully that might change as well. And so that's where we are, Greg.
Knowing that the trainers handle a lot of this stuff, how does the contact tracing take time to play out? Why is that still up in the air at this point in terms of who that's going to impact?
It's just a fine line, Greg, of how there's a couple of things here. There's kids I'm trying to protect right now. There's the advantage and disadvantage of UTEP knowing exactly how many of my guys are going to be out. So we reported it on our website and our database. I'm not trying to be insensitive to your question. I also know that there's going to be results from today. There's going to be more results Thursday. There's going to be more results Friday. And So that's where I'd like to leave that if possible, Greg.
I guess I'm just trying to piece together if it's 10 days for a positive test and 14 days for contact tracing. It seems strange that, finding out Thursday that last week's game could be off, but this week's game could be on. It feels like everybody would kind of fall in that same period.
You're right on some of that, and some of that's not exactly right. There's still the deal that JJ brought up about the Saban rule that could change things, and there's other kids that could be added to the list because there's more testing coming. So there's just, I just would rather not get into the whole policy of the Saban rule. You can go read it, and I don't want to be the one on having to, describe exactly what Dan and Nick that is. But once there's a policy there that's in state that could change things. So that's why it's a little vague.
And there's been nationally a lot of discussion lately about how to handle the return to play with some of that cardiac testing. Have you guys altered your policy on that at all for guys who test positive, how you handle that cardiac testing before they return to action?
I don't believe so, but I know there have been a couple of changes on policy through all this. I literally just let Dan and Nick take care of all that, Greg. There's nothing I can do. That's why it's made this way. So coaches, can't. This is not something I have control over. This is what Dan Bellamy and Nick Turner tell me is what I do. And I don't get into much policy, and because it doesn't matter that I know my job is to coach the football team, and whatever Dan and Nick whoever they tell me is on my roster that week, that's who I go. That might be from dehydration, that might be from concussion, it might be from shoulder injury, it might be from ankle. I don't have a say in any of that, so I just wait, and literally I get an injury report every day. There's an injury section. There's a COVID section. There's a contact tracing section. And I just play the kids they tell me I can play, Greg.
Well, then I guess purely from your perspective, if they tell you on Friday, hey, you have these kids back available to play, are you comfortable running them out there Saturday, or do you need to know kind of earlier in the week to get them readjusted to that level of competition?
In a normal year, I would say if they don't practice on Tuesday and Wednesday, they're not going to play on Saturday. This year is just so different. We're just trying to play a game. I mean, if you take a hard stance right now that if you're not at practice all week and you get released on Thursday or Friday, you're not going to play, you won't have a roster to play this year. So things are having to be different. And each kid's different. Each situation's different. The position's different. But no, I'm not. In the old days, yes, I would have a hard stance, Greg. If you didn't practice on Tuesday and Wednesday, you weren't going to play on Saturday, right? But this year, I've changed on that. I think pretty much all of college football probably depends on how good your backup is. Can your backup go play at the level you need? Is it going to matter if you play the game or not? So there's a lot of just factors involved. It's just not that simple this year. Everything is just very complicated. And I know that's not the easiest way to answer that question for you, but it just is. It's very vague. It's very gray. And that's not the way coaches like to live. It's very uncomfortable. But that's just what 2020 has done for all of us. I would imagine even in y'all's world, there's stuff that's just way, way different that used to be like this, and now it's just not that way right now.
Okay, John.
Yeah, hey, Coach. How did the team handle, I guess, when you broke the news to them that they weren't going to get to play on Saturday?
They were crushed. We all love football, don't get me wrong, but we didn't get in this because of practice. We love to play the game, right? And we had done all the work. And if you think back about last week, we really were physical Tuesday. We were very physical Wednesday. We were very physical Thursday, which is unlike what we had done the previous weeks. I was very disappointed in how we tackled against FAU, and we didn't protect our quarterback very well at FAU. So we really tried to heighten that awareness. And so we put in 3 really good days of work. So they're in on a Friday expecting a walkthrough and get to go play the game. The fun part of the week was still was their best part was still coming, right? So they were crushed. They didn't get to play. Coaches were too. We all were. That's tough. It was really a terrible feeling. Had to look all those kids in the face, and coaches too. But the safety of our players has always been what's first and foremost. I repeat, we've been 0.38 the entire season on positive testing. The contact tracing is always the part that's dicey on this deal. Because if you test positive, you're out, like Greg said, 10 days. If you contact trace, you're out 14 days. But then there's the Saban rule that's involved in that now. So, there's still you just don't know. You just get up every day and like today, we just got through testing again. So who knows what that's going to look like as well. But it was tough to tell our team. Our team did handle it well. I told them my reaction at first. My reaction, I was mad. I wanted to blame somebody. And then I calmed down, and I'm like, this is stupid. You don't need to act this way. I think that's a pretty human, natural reaction. And our players were very similar to me. They were upset at first. And then when they calmed down, and they knew I gave them Friday and Saturday off, I think that made them feel a little better. And then we got a good practice in last night.
Yeah, for you guys to go 8 straight weeks without this happening, I mean, that seems almost remarkable. Was this something that you envisioned would likely happen this year, and you guys have been planning for maybe a moment like this?
I don't know. That's a great question. I literally been living this deal day by day. It's probably, as I saw it rising in the country, I wondered if we hadn't done this backwards maybe. We're at 0.38, where most teams, a lot of them got it, and now they're not even having to test anymore if they've already had it. Where we have not been that way. We've been fighting it this entire time. So my common sense told me at some point it was probably going to hit my team. We just got to be very, very careful right now. This thing doesn't get, to our team, and we're not to that level. I'll know a lot more after today's test. Anytime you get a positive or two, your first reaction is, what's the next test going to be like? So I'll admit I'm a little apprehensive right now, Chase, but I repeat what I said earlier. I just think we had to be very careful not to assume that the person that tested positive or two that tested positive, that they were being nonchalant or not diligent. Just who knows? I don't think anybody knows exactly how this all goes down yet.
Okay, Greg.
Jeff, you guys have been able to play through 1 or 2 positive tests and some contact tracing in previous weeks. What was sort of the tipping point this week that the game had to be postponed rather than being able to move forward with what you had?
It happening so late in the week and it affecting a position that we just couldn't, we also had injuries involved as well at the same position. So between positive testing, contact tracing, injuries all on the same day, we couldn't handle that. If it would have happened on a Monday, we probably could have rearranged some things and gotten through the game. You hate to get through a game. We've had to get through a few games this year just to play the game. You can't come on the media and tell you guys that, hey, as honest and open as I try to be with y'all, you just can't get on the media and say, this kid only had 1 day of practice and he got thrown out there, had to play, and why it looks so bad, because then it looks like I'm blaming the kid and taking it off of me. It's just, you'd be shocked how many times this year we've had to literally, like you said, get through a game. But it's not just happening to us. It's happening. I can almost see a score now or watch a game and go, these kids had contact tracing, probably didn't get them back to a Thursday or Friday, and they had not much of a chance to get prepared. And some poor coach is just getting blistered because his team wasn't ready. But he can't come out and say, you try to coach this. We don't ever get to coach our kids anymore. It's just a tough year.
Does Conference USA have roster limits in place to help you guys with that? Or it's like if you don't have X number of scholarship, whatever position, then you can postpone the game? Or how do you guys determine that?
No, sir, we don't have that. Our conference is so adamant about playing. We've all just basically have a gentleman's agreement. If you can go play the game, play the game. And we have, as a conference, we've really tried our best to play if we can play, knowing that we're going to get criticized and scrutinized for not maybe looking as good. Really, your O-line is just where it's hard to overcome it because those guys are so – not that everybody on the team is not valuable, but those five have to work so – they're so dependent on each other, right? Where I'm not trying to say that the whole team is not dependent on each other, but those five literally have to be like one person, like one hand with five different fingers is the best way to describe those five. And, you know, we've just been, I don't want to say devastated, but all year, you know, 7 different lineups, 8 games, and you'll get to see your 8th different lineup, you know, this Saturday.
Is that where it's hit you guys particularly, is on the O-line?
At times, it's more injury than anything else. But, yeah, at times it's there and times other spots. But injury's been the biggest deal up there. We just keep getting people injured. I think a lot of that is from not having a normal spring, not having a normal summer. These kids are all gone. To me, the bigger guys have suffered more of the injuries than the smaller guys have, to me, on my team. I can't say that for the whole country, but it just makes sense. You know, they're large people, and missing all that work in the spring and the summer and having to play. We've literally, that was the first time those kids have had 2 days off since June the 4th, when they got to voluntarily come in here. That's a long grind. You know, you usually get a couple of days for July 4th. You get a couple of days at the end of July. You get a couple of days during fall count. You get a couple of days during the open week. Those kids have had none of that. So I just think all that adding up on us, Greg, is taking its toll. And then you throw in a positive test and contact tracing, and then that takes a whole nother toll on your team.
What's the outlook for being able to reschedule against Rice? I know they have games really scheduled up until the CUSA championship.
Yeah, I know they're looking at that. There's some discussion because Marshall's an East team and Rice is a West team. Does us being a West and a West, those decisions are, once again, it's kind of like talking about Dan and Nick a while ago. I don't get too much into the policies because I know Dan and Nick that's what their job is. That's a decision that's going to be made by the powers that are above me. Obviously, I hope that goes in our favor, but if not, it is what it is.
Okay, Brett.
Hey, Coach. Kind of a practical question here. What's the scouting report on UTEP? What do you see with them?
Yeah, much improved again. I know I said the same thing about Rice, but UTEP is very improved. Their quarterback play is very good. He's got a big arm. They've got 2 very good wide receivers. They've got a good running back. I've known Dion for a while. I've offered him when he was young. I think he's a very good back. 2 really good old linemen. Defense is much improved. They're just a much better football team, and they've won enough ball games. They're playing very confident. They're 3-3, so they're playing like a team that knows they're a lot better. So, very improved team. It'll be a very good game Saturday.
All right, and then just kind of doing a little feature on your program. Just talk about getting things in the first year there and how well things have gone. Has it gone maybe a little quicker than you thought it might?
You know, we wanted to lay a groundwork of what we're going to be. You know, our culture piece is what we really focused hard on. Our triangle of toughness, our 2-1-0 brand in the city and working our way out has been a major focus point. We want to be very physical on defense. We feel like there at times we've been very physical. We want to be able to take a lot of pride in team run. We want our team to feel great about running the football. We have been very successful at that at times, and at times we haven't. And we want to take a lot of pride in our special teams with our starters playing and taking ownership in playing. And at times we've been very good at that. But I know the groundwork has been laid. We've been competitive in all 8 ball games. Are we perfect? No, sir. We're not. We're anywhere near that. But we do feel like our culture piece has been established, and our 2-1-0 Triangle of Toughness brand is not just lip service. It's something our kids really believe in.
Okay, Greg.
Jeff, just on UTEP, do you know if there's any, concerns or complications with them traveling for this game, just given that El Paso has been such a hot spot? Have you guys talked about that at all?
No, sir. We haven't. Dr. Compost will take care of all that, and be in contact with their AD. I literally just try to do my job the very best I can, Greg, and I trust Dr. Compost. She's done a fantastic job all year, making sure we have games, and she keeps me informed on what's going on. And I'm sure she'll do the same thing this week. And so, no, I haven't heard anything. I know that UTEP hasn't played in 2 weeks. So I know they're dying to play like our kids are dying to play.
Okay, anything else for Coach? All right, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Sorry about that, about Saturday. God bless. Birds up.